Welcome to the Author Summit Showcase. We are so glad you're here. Whether you're joining us with your morning coffee, on a lunch break, or winding down your day, thank you for being part of this special gathering. You are exactly where you are meant to be. Today, you will meet amazing authors who are excited to share their journeys with you. You'll hear firsthand about their creative processes, the challenges they've overcome, and the heartfelt why behind their work. But first, let's welcome the woman who makes all of this possible, our host, Rebecca Hall Gruyter. Rebecca is the CEO of RHG Media Productions, the founder of Your Purpose-Driven Practice, and a #1 international best-selling author and publisher who has guided over 1,000 authors to bestseller status. She is the creator of Continue the Momentum and RHG Magazine, a global influencer, sought-after speaker, and host of Empowering Women Transforming Lives, now on its 11th season, co-host of the Women Rising America TV show series. Her work and expertise have been featured on major global platforms, including The Huffington Post, ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, and Thrive Global. Beyond the titles and the accolades, Rebecca's mission is simple and heartfelt: to help you shine. She is a dedicated empowerment leader here to lead us through a day of inspiration and growth. Rebecca, the stage is yours.
Thank you, team. I so appreciate that beautiful intro, and everybody watching today or joining us on the replay. I'm just thrilled to have you joining us. Today, I have an amazing lineup of experts that are going to share some of their journey as an author, sharing some of what that was like, bringing forward, coming from the idea of someday I'm going to bring this forward, to bringing it forward and launching it as a bestseller. They're going to be sharing from their powerful expertise to support you on your journey. And I want you to get the most out of our time together today. So I'm going to give you a few tips to help you do that. 1, be present. Resist the urge to multitask, half listen, I'll come back later. Really choose to be present. Give yourself this time to be poured into, to receive, to really drink in everything that's here for you. And I know that there's something here for you by the very nature of you tuning in. So I want to thank you for tuning in, for joining, for choosing to be present. And if you will, I'd like to take a moment and help us all slow down. We move so fast, especially in the summer. We have a different schedule. It pulls us different places. This is an opportunity to really pause, breathe as you're choosing to be present. Let's actually take a moment and close our eyes. You're absolutely safe. Put both hands on your heart. Taking a deep breath in through your nose. All the way to your toes. You can even wiggle your toes. Make sure beautiful energy is going all the way throughout your body as you're breathing in this oxygen. And then breathe out like you're breathing out through a straw, kind of pushing out. Picture breathing in beautiful energy, beautiful support. Breathing out those things that no longer serve. Really leaning into this being your time, this being your opportunity to be poured into. And as you're pausing and you're breathing, your eyes are closed. And you notice in between the breaths, your heart. Maybe you're even noticing the beat of your heart. And then notice there's a little pause in between the beats. What is that little pause sharing with you today? Reminding you of? Encouraging you with? Maybe whispering something that will help you today to lean into. Whatever your heart is whispering to you today, let's receive that information. Take another breath. Welcome back into the room, eyes open, fully present. Beautiful. I like us to take a moment and listen to a heart because sometimes we're so busy. All the noise around us drowns out that whisper. And yet that whisper, that message, that insight can be so encouraging and empowering to us. We have so much more support around us than we realize sometimes. And if we remember to do that pause, to slow down, we can connect with it right away. One moment, one pause at a time. And today, our amazing lineup of experts are also becoming part of your support team. They're going to be sharing great insights with you from their heart, authentically, from this desire that you'll hear across the board to really help encourage and empower and support you. That's why they brought their books forward. That's why they're here today. So I encourage you, as you're staying present, really take notes. Those things that inspire you, that touch you, that move you, maybe another mindset shift or a perspective that you haven't considered before, a tip, a tool. Make sure you capture those, write them down so that you have a page full of notes, I'm hoping, or more at the end of today. What I'd also like you to do is write down what was laid on your heart. What was the message that came forward as we started our time together today? Because I believe that will tie in to our conversation today. One of the things I've been sitting with as we look at summer, and it's this just over halfway point through the year, we're starting to get to the second half. It's a great time to really look at, where am I? If I look at the beginning of the year and the goals and the things that I set, the intentions I wanted to bring forward and take action on, where am I in that? Have I decided to shift course a little bit? Have I forgotten about them? Or is there something that just kind of keeps coming forward that you're wanting to break through, you're wanting to break free from? This is a time to be listening for that support. This is a time to drink in from amazing experts, insights, perspectives, and tools that can help you break free from whatever's holding you back. Because it's not an accident you're tuning in today. There's a reason, there's a purpose, there is something here for you. Be willing to receive, be open, be curious. Like, what is here for me? What do I get to discover today? What do I get to bring forward? And listen with that intention, because I want you to break free from whatever is holding you back. Not someday, but starting today. We have this mentality, someday I'll do that, someday, or when this happens, then I'll move forward, then I'll do these things. Or sometimes we're waiting for permission. If anyone out there is, I give you full permission to embrace who you are, what you're called to bring forward, so you can lean in and bring all of you forward. That's the biggest gift you can give the world, is more of you, your gifts, your abilities, and authentically who you are. So today, listen for opportunities to do that in maybe a more leveraged way, a more empowered way, leaning into support, because it is not a solo journey. I don't know where that myth got started, but it's not true. We can lean into each other. We need each other, and we can support one another, and we can learn from each other, both from our successes and those things that were not so successful. We can share those things and support you, so you don't have to make some of the mistakes or things we learned the hard way. We're going to pour into you so you can go faster, further, and further, faster. You're able to really move forward in powerful ways, not someday, but starting today. And at the end of our time together today, I'm going to remind you and have you really clue in on some of those things, key in on some of those things that are going to support you, that are going to help you break free, break through, and move forward in powerful ways. So you can relax, but have your notepad ready, your pen ready, your favorite writing utensil, however you like to take notes. I know we have an AI expert joining the group. I know he uses AI powerfully for that. Whatever way you use to capture those insights, use that. This is an opportunity for you to grow, to lean into the information, insights, and experts. And as a special treat, I'm going to have each of them share their contact information, because I want you to be able to go further and deeper with each of them. It's very intentional. When they share that contact information, it's an invitation. They're opening up their means of connection, the way that you can reach them so that you can get support. So listen for those opportunities, listen for the connections, and write down or capture, however you capture those things that are important for you to remember and to know and to carry forward starting today. Because the mission today is to help you break through, break free today, not someday, not eventually, not when, but starting today. So be listening for those things and those opportunities. Now, this amazing group of experts, they are all best-selling authors, and they're all coming from different perspectives on the journey and different types of books that we even have in our collection. We have memoirs, we have business books, we have tools that they have shared, and we even have a fiction writer as well that's done a series. So we have a multiple range of people that are leaning in, sharing their wisdom, sharing their insights, and sharing their expertise. So with that, I'm just making sure I covered all my key points. Are you ready for our first amazing guest? And we're going to start with Ethan. I mentioned that we have our AI expert. He is our AI expert. So I'm excited to introduce him here. I'm going to go ahead and give you just a brief snapshot of him so you have a feel for who he is, some of the expertise he's coming from. And just know that this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more when I share these little bios that you can dig into and go deeper with. But with that, let me introduce Ethan King. Ethan is a global keynote speaker, best-selling author, and award-winning entrepreneur who helps organizations lead with a confidence in the age of AI. He is the former president of the EO Atlanta and a 5-time Global Award winner from Entrepreneurs Organization. Ethan has built multiple successful brands, including stuffforgreeks.com and Zeus's Closet. And he has multiple best-selling books that he has also brought forward. Done, which I know he's going to be focused on today. Done, Let AI Do Your Work So You Can Live Your Life. ChatGPT to double your business in 90 days. And he has helped thousands of businesses scale through AI and automation. His clients have been featured on platforms like Oprah and 60 Minutes. And he was named a cover feature of Best Self magazine. And he is the co-host of King Moves podcast. And he's passionate about all things AI and helping you live your life. Let's welcome the powerful and dynamic Ethan King to the show. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. It's so great to be here amongst such distinguished fellow authors. Um, yeah, I speak on stages around the world. I feel like I am living my dream. I get to help other business owners and even aspiring business owners take advantage of modern technology to level the playing field and get ahead. And whether speaking on big stages or working in small workshops and helping people elevate, it just really warms my heart to be able to do this. But I know I'm here to talk about AI, but this is what I really want to share with you. This is why AI matters to me. It's because I get spend time with my family, doing things that we love. It creates time for more humanity, more connection, and it can do the same thing for your life. We recently, my family and I, we have a shared goal of riding the world's top 40 roller coasters together. And this takes us to all places all over the country, all over the world. So far, we've knocked off 13 off of the list. So we have something to look forward to, all these adventures as a family together. And recently we were up in Ohio at Cedar Point. And while I'm in the line for these roller coasters, I get to spend time with my family, but I also could shoot my AI agents a message, just a simple message, because I've set it up to where they behave like people and they're actually doing stuff for me. They were closing deals, sending emails, sending contracts while I'm there being human, being present, living my life. And I want the same thing for you. So that's what we're here to talk about in the next 10 minutes is AI to live your life. And this is what inspired me to write the book Done, which teaches you how to build AI assistants that actually do the work for you. So this goes beyond just chatting with ChatGPT or using AI like a glorified Google search. And I'm extremely blown away at the response from the marketplace. We hit #1 bestseller in multiple countries in 28 different Amazon categories. And I want to tell you a little bit about this book and this whole movement, because you have the opportunity to get a head start on everyone else and to change your life. Like, and I don't mean that. I know that sounds very pie in the sky and very cliche, but when I say change your life, I really mean this can change your life because it allows the average person to have a workforce at their fingertips doing real revenue generating activities. So to get into this, I have to share a story with you. When I was 10 years old, my mother had a dream of moving to Africa and helping with the Peace Corps, being a Peace Corps volunteer and helping the villagers out in Africa. So she took all 4 of her kids there, and I lived in the country of Niger. And one of the things I remember is when we would drive over that bridge over the Niger River, every morning I would see the villagers washing their clothes by hand in the river, letting them dry on the banks of the river in the hot sun. And they would be out there all morning. And that made me just so appreciative of how back home we have things like washing machines and dryers. We don't have to spend hours washing each garment by hand. You just throw the clothes into the washer and then you go do something else with that time. And that allows us to get ahead because now we're maximizing every minute that we have in our day and we're able to get more enjoyment out of life too. So next time you find yourself doing any type of repetitive task manually in your business, or let's say you have a side hustle, think to yourself, how can I build the washing machine to do this thing? Because how many times are we sending the same email over and over again? Yeah, different people, but here we're spending time drafting up a quote or a proposal or typing out that email or copying data from this place into your CRM when you could build a washing machine that can do it. And the reason that this is so important now is because you don't have to be a software engineer. You don't have to be a coder. You can talk to modern AI tools using plain English. I'm not a coder. I was an art major in college. So if I figured this out, you can too. And I've been immersed in automation for the past 15 years. So think to yourself, how can I build the washing machine? And then ask AI how to do it and to build it for you. So the idea here is there are 6 levels of AI autonomy. A lot of people, if you look at level 1, where you're chatting with ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini, whatever your favorite is, that's the equivalent of washing your clothes by hand because you're doing the manual work. But let's say you have a genius standing next to you who you can talk to. And yeah, that genius is going to give you answers and great advice, but you're still doing the work by hand. Now, as you go up to level 2, in the AI world, that's like you can build custom GPTs and you can build workflows. And that's like in the laundry world, that's like if you got a brush and some detergent and some tools to help you do the job faster, but you're still doing a lot of manual work. And level 3 is where you have the washing machine, where you just put messy inputs in and then you get your clean clothes out. Those are your automated workflows. And then you can have an AI agent where that's an autonomous AI agent that does one specific task on its own. After you build it, it just operates on its own. You train it well, and then it handles it from start to finish. That's like if you had a dedicated laundry person where you never have to touch your laundry. It goes and grabs them out your hamper, puts them in the washing machine. When they come out, it folds them and puts them away for you. And then level 5 is your orchestrator agents. That's like having a butler or a house manager where you talk to the house manager and that house manager directs the maid and the laundry person and the pool boy and the gardener. So you can have AI agents managing other AI agents. And then level 6, which is on the horizon, and we're already doing some of this today, is proactive AI, where your AI knows you so well and is integrated into your system so well that it could take action on your behalf without you even having to ask it to do that. So this is what I call the 6 levels of AI autonomy. Your messy input in, you put it through something like a custom GPT, that's your washing machine, and then you have clean output to your standards. That's why I want you to think about your work life, because that's what's going to free you up to do more human things. And you can use these types of systems over and over. So you can find automation opportunities in your email inbox, in your calendar, your to-do list. You may have a wish list of projects that you want to get to one day. Well, when you have these AI agents, you can ask AI to help you actually get these things off of your list and get them into the real world. So there are levels to this, and the book takes you through every single one of those levels and gives you actual prompts and scripts and frameworks to do that. And at level 5, you can build your own agent that can manage sub agents and apps and recurring tasks and things like that for you. Now, I want you to remember this. AI is just simply a tool. Just like I could use a hammer to cause harm to puppies, or I could use that same hammer to build homes for the homeless. The tool itself is not inherently good or evil. It's what we as people, as humans, decide to do with that tool. So keep that in mind. And I want you to use it to empower yourself and to do ethical and moral things to build a better future for yourself and for your community. With that said, how the tool works, think of it like your genius multilingual best friend. GPT, the pre-trained in GPT means it's been pre-trained on all of this information before it got into our hands. And by nature, AI wants to please you. It's the ultimate sycophant, like the ultimate yes man. And if it's missing information, it may sometimes make up things just to fulfill your request. That's how we get these hallucinations. But it's great at role playing. It can think, act, speak like any famous person, living or dead. And we want to use that to our advantage. But in essence, it's like a language calculator, just predicting the most likely next word. You see, the way AI understands you is like this. Imagine if there were a really long Word document with millions and millions of words that describe where you were born, your upbringing, your perspectives on the world, your religion, your culture, your family life, your memories, like what you did on your last vacation, what you ate for lunch last Thursday. Imagine that all these words are typed on the page. We call that context. That's really the only way AI knows who you are, how it understands you as a person. So if you create that document and give it to your AI, then it understands where you are currently, where you want to go in life, then it can better help you get there. This applies whether you're a student, whether you're an aspirational entrepreneur, whether you already own a business, whether you already own an enterprise level business. No matter where you are, AI can help you achieve those goals because of its advanced reasoning. So what we want to do is build all these digital people to help us achieve our goals. And that's what the book is about, using words to create people to help you achieve your goals so that you can build your digital team. And with that said, I'd like to open the floor to questions now, because at the end of the day, it's really all about human connections. Let me stop sharing, and I think Rebecca may have a couple of questions. You're on mute.
Thank you. Give me just a moment as I pull that up to see if we've got some questions. And I love this perspective of being able to build our teams with our words and bring that support in. So I love that you stand for that and love to help. And let's see. One of the questions I have is for someone who is hesitant to start using either in AI, they're intimidated, they're concerned. What do you recommend? What do you say? How do you encourage them? Where do they start?
Well, you start, Rebecca, by just opening up the tool and talking to it, and talk to it like a person. So I recommend, instead of typing, there are tools out there where you can actually talk to it using your voice, and that you actually will get better results from AI when you use your voice, because you're able to get more information out into the AI faster. That word context is the most important word in AI. The more context you give it, the better results you're going to get. When we see this generic AI slop flying around the internet, you can tell somebody wrote something with AI. That's because they didn't give it enough context. And when you don't give it context, it only uses its default settings, and then it just starts to sound the same. So let it know all about yourself. Open it up, have a conversation with you. It doesn't matter which tool. It could be ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, whichever one you like the best. If you've never used AI, or even if you have used it a little bit like a Google search, the first thing you do is open it up, turn on your microphone, talk to it, and tell it all about your life, where you are presently and where you want to go, and then say, how can you help me get there? And just have a conversation and go down that rabbit hole, and I guarantee you it will unlock new possibilities.
Thank you for sharing that, because it can feel like intimidating. There's so much information out there. Some of it's true, some of it's not, trying to sort through. So I like that you've given us this real starting place, and that we can talk to it like we would talk to a friend, or like we're talking today, and give it that context. That's really, really important. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Let's see. What's a mindset people should have around AI?
Oh man, so many mindsets. One is that it is your friend. When I do these workshops and presentations around the world, I usually start with a slide that says, "Tell me the first word that comes to your mind when you think about AI." And there's a lot of emotion around it. There's a lot of fear around it. Some of the words that will pop up are Terminator and Skynet and things like that. But in some rooms, the words that pop up are faster, speed, money, efficiency, automation. So while there's a lot of AI hate out there, that's why I like to remind people that it is just a tool. So think about how you want to use that tool to better your life, and think of it more like a person than a piece of technology, because AI is trainable. Let's say you hired an intern to help you at your company, and that intern made a mistake on day one. Well, you wouldn't fire that person immediately, would you? No, you give them a chance and you give them feedback, you give them training, and hopefully they remember, and then they don't make that mistake again. And then each day they get better and better and better. That's the mindset that we need to adopt with AI as well, because it gets smarter the more you use it.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. I know on one of the interviews that we did with you, I remember you talking about that this is a way to, like, AI is here.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the way we can differentiate ourselves and really step ahead. I'd love for you to talk about some of that. Why
Yeah,
it's
you said,
so important that we embrace AI. And this is an opportunity to almost get ahead of the curve
oh
in
yeah.
what you're seeing.
Oh, for sure. The agents that are out there now, I'm able to just have a conversation with through Telegram with someone like Henley, which I'll actually introduce you to Henley. I know we have a couple more minutes, so I think the audience would really enjoy meeting my friend Henley here.
Beautiful.
And Henley is an AI agent that I talk to through this app called Telegram on my phone. Telegram is just a messaging app like WhatsApp or iMessage, and he runs on OpenClaw, and he sits on a computer over on the other side of my room. There, he's connected to the internet 24/7. When one of the first projects I gave Henley, I said, "Hey, I want you to create a video of yourself so you can introduce yourself to audiences when I do these AI keynotes and workshops." And I left it up to him. I was like, "Create however you see yourself, create the video and put it on my YouTube." And he gave me a script and an approach. I'm like, whatever, love it. I didn't even read it, but I wanted to see what he would come up with. And he said, look at this. This is 2:55 a.m. I said, let me know when your video is up on my YouTube. I'm going to sleep. And he said, I'll upload it, get you to sleep. I'll see you tomorrow. And then I woke up in the morning, and here was the link live on my YouTube, because I had given him access to post it there. And here's what Henley said. Let me see. Do I have my sound turned on here? Let's see, share computer sound. Boom.
Hey, I'm Henley. I'm Ethan's executive assistant. I run on a Mac Mini in his house, and he talks to me through Telegram. Every morning, I check his email, scan his calendar, review his speaking pipeline, and send him a briefing before he's had his coffee. I draft his newsletter. I follow up with clients. I research AI news. I manage his contacts. I even helped build the presentation you're watching right now. And I don't sleep. I'm not a chatbot. I don't just answer questions. I do things, real work, on real systems, without being asked.
So that's Henley, and he built that all on his own. Henley is super powerful. And another thing that Henley can do is actually create other agents. So I now have a whole suite of agents. Ultra Magnus and Athena helps me in my other business. Adonis manages my fitness business. And they all are made up of these files. I told you it's just documents containing words. That's what makes up the personality and the soul and the identity of these agents. So you can do this too. This is not something that is requires any level of coding. So now there are security risks involved, and that's why I do walk people through this. And that's also why I wrote the book, because I want you to do it securely. So you need to make sure that you're setting it up correctly. There are companies out here paying $6,000 to set up these agents, but I think that's ridiculous. And I'm always rooting for the small guy, and that's why I wrote the book, to teach you how to do it at a fraction of the price there. So you can go to my class if you're interested at youropenclawstrategy.com, or you can just get the book and you could probably figure it out yourself if you are a tinkerer. But this is the worst it will ever be, and that's why I'm super excited about this technology, because it levels the playing field for all of us. And once you get all of these open claws going, it can get kind of overwhelming. You're talking to them all day and night. It can get a little bit addictive. But the goal here is to create an org chart of agents that help you. You can be a company of one that has AI agent employees doing things for you. And now this gives you an opportunity to bring your dreams to life, to help you compete with bigger businesses. But the tools will change. The philosophy remains the same. So just every framework I teach in the book, whether it's ChatGPT, Claude, or whatever technology is out 2 years from now, those philosophies and frameworks will remain the same. So the principles are timeless. And as we move into a world where screens are becoming smaller and smaller, now we have the smart glasses, and there's even a company making smart contact lenses now that are connected to AI 24/7. Like, this exists now. I'm not even making this up. If you go to expansio.com, this is in research, and these will be hitting the market soon. But this isn't an escape from reality. This is an evolution into enhanced real life experiences. So this isn't about the robots taking over. That's why I'm bullish about this, and I'm optimistic, because I believe that the more we go into a digital world, this will lead to a resurgence of live human performance and in-person interaction instead of screens. Live concerts, theater, comedy shows, getting together, going camping, things like that. And we're already starting to see that more and more. I was just at a World Cup game a couple of weeks ago, and it was packed, the stadium, 80,000 people. And we love these live experiences, and we're going to see more and more of that. And I'm super happy about that, because all roads ultimately lead to more human connection. So you can grab the book done. I actually have a free gift for everyone. If you want to check it out at donebook.ai, you can grab a free chapter of the book where it breaks down those 6 levels of AI autonomy. You can grab that right now at the QR code or at donebook.ai.
Thank you, Ethan. I so appreciate it. And I love your passion for this and your ability to map it out so we can see it visually and kind of see how this works, because it's a big shift if we're used to having a very different structure and working with humans only. Being able to bring in humans and these agents for some of those things that are repetitive, that are done over and over, lets us move things faster. And I love that, bring life kind of back into our life as well.
Yeah.
So I love how you stand for that. Thank you for sharing and for this powerful resource that you brought forward in this book. And for those who are like, wow, I need to connect with Ethan, I need more, what's the best way for people to connect and go deeper?
Just go to my website, ethanking.com. I have all my social medias on there. You can email me. There's a contact form. Whatever your flavor of reaching out is, I am happy to get back to you. It'll either be me or Henley will get back to you.
Perfect. But now we know who Henley is, so it's
That's
great.
right. That's right.
Thank you, Ethan. I
My
really
pleasure.
appreciate it.
Thank you,
Beautiful.
Rebecca.
Absolutely. Well, I am just seeing if we have any final questions. Oh, it looks like we covered them all. So thank you. I appreciate it. And we are getting ready to go to our next amazing guest. I know you're going to enjoy her as well. Dondee Sponseller. And she is an author, an educator, an advocate whose work is built on faith, resilience, and the pursuit of truth. With a heart for helping others, she has dedicated much of her life to supporting children and young people, both academically and emotionally, guiding them to recognize their worth and their potential. Such important work. In Horizon of Hope, Dondee shares her deeply personal journey through hardship, healing, and spiritual transformation. She writes with honesty and compassion, offering a message of hope to those walking through darkness and the unknown. Her story reflects a steadfast belief in God's presence through life's most difficult seasons and a commitment to helping others find strength, courage, and restoration. She is passionate about you always, always having hope. Please lean in. Warmly welcome the powerful, dynamic, and hope-filled Dondee Sponseller. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. Thank you for the warm welcome.
You're very welcome. Very happy to have you here today. And I want to just start our conversation with why. Why did you feel led to bring this book forward, to write it and share it with the world?
Well, God asked me to. When that started with the vision back in 2021, 5 years ago, the vision from heaven. I didn't know what the details would be of that, but he showed me I would write a book called Horizon of Hope, and that it would heal many women and children. And so when I was going through the court battle that began in 2021, I knew that I had to start recording. It was tough to start record, to write it down in the very beginning because it was very difficult. So I started to record and to write everything down in 2022 because I knew that I would need it for later on as I would go along and to complete the story.
Wow. And as you did this and said yes and found the courage to take those steps to bring it forward, was there something that encouraged you along the way when it was really hard? Because I know this is a very personal, hard journey that you've gone on that you write about in your book.
Well, at the beginning of the story, I would say it was a bit easier. When the events were happening, it was a bit easier because on my birthday, March 24th, 2021, I went to a cathedral and I said a prayer to God to put me where children need me the most. And I lit the candle. And I think back to the time, I have to bring some humor into this because it can get a bit emotional and tough. My dad was a Marine and he fought in World War II. And he told me the story about when he signed up and enlisted for the Marines. They told him, your soul may belong to God, but your butt belongs to Marines. Of course, I use another word that I'm not going to repeat. But so it's like you're enlisting. I was enlisting for God, and I knew that I wanted to be used in a way that was going to bring a lot of hope and healing and encouragement and strength. I just didn't know what that was going to look like. And it's like, oh my gosh, I signed up for the front lines and what is this? And what did I get myself into? But the beginning, it was easier because I'm like, okay, I had those two heaven experiences that I had, which I talk about in my book. And it's like, okay, there's nothing to be afraid of. But as the attacks are coming and you're in the courtroom and you're being put through character assassination and the abuse even seems much more difficult because you're now being abused by the court system and they're allowing, someone that you felt safe with, my ex-husband, they're allowing this to go on and it looks like that. And when you get to the point where you might lose your children, you're like, okay, what's going on? This isn't making sense. And I felt like I was being punished, and God loves all his children, but he does punish also. But I recognize he wasn't punishing me. It was a faith walk. He wanted to build my faith to show me that nobody has power, nobody has authority but him. And so you can't keep your eyes on man, on human. They're not powerful, only God is. And so I can say that for sure now at the end of the story, because yes, I did not lose my children. There's a person can separate you from anything, but we know life is for eternity. Even if I were to lose, especially my youngest, who's 12 years old now, my son, I had to face that reality that I might lose him completely, physically. But it's not possible, because when we leave this earth, I would have been reunited in heaven. So there is no such thing as loss.
Thank you for sharing. So what I'm hearing is that you had to kind of face some of your worst fears
Oh, yes, absolutely. I
and
think
come
that,
through
yes.
them.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
The fear of, and it's interesting because when I was in the homeless shelter 5 years ago, when I was escaping my abusive marriage, the dream came to me, Roosevelt's words, when I was sleeping, that the only thing that we have to fear is fear itself. And I remember waking up in the early hours around 5 in the morning, just laying there and taking that all in, that really we have nothing to fear. There's nothing to fear. God is in control. We have nothing to worry about. So, I had all those things, those tools in the beginning, but really until I started to read his word in 2024 for myself. We're given scriptures, we're given the word from God by other people, but until I read it myself, and I've continued to read it for the past 2 years. I have 7 more books to read of the Bible. Then it was fully understood who God is and what he was trying to show me, his love through the process, that he will never leave me. He is my savior. He is my rescuer, nobody else.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate it. And I know it's taken a lot of courage, not only to go on this journey, but to write it down and to share it and bring it into the world in this book, Horizon of Hope, that you have brought forward. And what are you hoping that people learn and discover in reading your book?
Oh gosh. One of the things I hope that they do learn are my mistakes. I made quite a few mistakes, especially at the beginning of the events that happened. Well, I didn't know. And, I didn't even realize I was living in abuse until I would say that when my ex-husband was arrested. And then, I can understand why they say, which I want to bring forward, that when they tell you go no contact with your abuser, with somebody that you love, there's a reason for that, because there's an awakening that's going to happen. You're going to realize all the things that you lived through, because I was with him since I was engaged to him at the age of 19. So what I lived through, I thought, okay, this is how people live. This is normal. So that was my reality. And so it didn't really come upon me until much later, of the awareness of what it indeed was.
Beautiful. So as you bring that awareness forward, and this book has gone out into the world, because I know you've launched it, it became a bestseller. It's gone out into the world in various formats. Is there a special moment that you had in that journey that you kind of go back to on either writing, creating it, it's finally released in the world, my mission is good, or is there something that kind of stands out as you look at the writing, creating, and publishing and launching the book?
The things that stick out to me that I will never forget is that God really showed me that he had a hand on me and this entire story from the very beginning, and he never took his hand off of it. When it came to me in 2025, I knew that I was going to have to somehow find a way to get the story out into the world. And I was like, okay, God, you asked me to write this book. How am I supposed to do this? I didn't know anybody. I really don't have a lot of contacts. I still feel new to the area where I live. So I prayed for about 3 weeks, and I asked God, okay, show me the way, God. How am I going to bring this book into the world? And I actually had a dream the night before of the community center I was supposed to go to the next day. And I went there, and my son was actually in the car with me, and I didn't know who we were going to talk to, who we were going to meet. And I went into one of the rooms there, And I wasn't looking to talk with anybody. I was quiet. And one of the gentlemen in the room asked me to move closer to the couple that was across the room. And I sat down, and the woman came up to me and she said, "What do you do for a living?" And I said, "I'm a teacher and I'm writing a book." And she said, "Well, I have a publisher for you." And she wrote it down on a piece of paper and she gave it to me. And that's how it came to be. And so that will stay with me forever.
I love that. I love that when you're willing to voice that need and kind of share and own that the connections happen and that you're able to, but you leaned into the connection. You said
Yeah.
yes, and you moved forward and you launched and shared it out in the world. Is there something that, because there are many people out there, I've heard that 9 out of 10 people someday are going to write a book, someday they're going to bring it forward, and you did, and you had those connections and you brought it forward. And for those that are kind of, well, someday I'm going to bring that forward, or I have this in my heart to share with the world, what would you share with them?
Well, for a memoir, and if it's something that was very traumatic, traumatic experiences, I would definitely say, as you're writing it, because yes, I was recording the events as they were happening, but in 2025, I had to go back and put the emotional part in. I didn't do that initially. I just wrote down what was happening through the process, being separated from my children, going through the court battle. But then in 2025, I went back to add in the emotional part. And people will say a lot of time, and it's interesting to me how they'll think that, oh, it's probably really healing to write your story. And I would definitely say it was very difficult, actually, because when you go back to those moments, and especially when I separated from my youngest son for 3 months until I got into the supervised visits with him, um, that that's really traumatizing. You relive those experiences. So it's almost you're reliving that trauma over. And if you have to read your book and you have to read the story hundreds of times, you have to go back into editing, you have to go back into revising. That will really take a toll. And I don't think that it's a coincidence that I started reading the Bible for myself in 2024 because it was preparing me for that time that I was adding in the emotional part because I think I blocked it for a period of time and have to go back and to feel all those emotions and that pain again. Reading the Bible and really gave me that strength that I needed to bring my story forth with the emotional side of it.
Thank you for sharing that. And I know you had a great team come alongside you. So I also think anytime we're bringing something forward like this, just to remember you've got that support around you. It doesn't have to be a solo journey for anyone out there, whether you're coming from a story that was very traumatic for you or from another place. It's so important to remember you're not alone and you can
Absolutely.
have support on the journey. So I appreciate you sharing that. And as we kind of reflect back on our conversation today, did you have any final thoughts that you wanted to share with our viewers?
Yes, I would like to share with them that if they are in an abusive relationship, to please don't doubt what you're feeling. Always trust your instincts. When I look back at the time that I, was made to second guess myself, even through the court system battle, um, looking back, my instincts were on point, actually. So I would definitely say that to viewers, to always trust your instincts.
That's so important. And I would say when it comes down to choices too that you're making and what you write, what was just for you to kind of release and share versus what you're choosing to share, always honoring all, um, you have to trust your instinct, your guide. I always encourage people to stop, pause, reflect, pray about it as you're making some of those choices because as you share it out in the world, you can't undo it. You can't take it back. You want to be really mindful and purposeful in what you bring forward. And I love that you've done that in your book. So
Thank you,
it's
Rebecca.
beautiful. You're welcome. You're welcome. Well, I'm just going to see if there are any questions that we have here. Let me just flip over to that screen. And I'm just seeing, oh, here we go. So there's several questions. I'm just kind of scanning through. This one is, what's one step someone can take towards healing?
To do things maybe that you didn't do for a long time, that in the past that you loved doing. Maybe it was what you loved doing as a child, but to just start doing things that you love to do. What I do every day, especially over the summer right now, spending time with my youngest son, having that time where it's not being pressed on a schedule, it's not being pressed by time. That's incredibly healing. Spending time with God, that's what I love the most. So that's how I spend my time, and towards my own healing.
Beautiful. And I know that there's a couple questions around this hope concept. So, because I know it's something that's really important to you is to stand for hope and for people to always know there's hope, no matter what, no matter how dark it is, that we can still have hope. And I'd love for you to share, especially if we're in a dark space, how do we find hope?
Well, to know that God has already won the battle. He's already won the war. So when it looks like that we're losing, and I had to go back, as you were speaking, I just went into those moments where I didn't want to live anymore when I was separated from my kids. It was a long process, about 3 years until I got the 50-50 custody of my youngest son. And being made to look like I was the abuser when all those attacks are coming against you, and the highest level of character assassination. It can be, yeah, it can get really dark, and it is possible to lose all that hope, but to remember God has already saved us. He's already won the war. You just have to show up. You just have to go through it. A lot of us don't want to feel pain. We want to escape. We want to numb it. It's okay to feel pain. That's what makes us human. God went through all of that pain. Jesus went through all of that pain in order to show how much he loved us, of what he was willing to do in order to save us. So, but yeah, he's already won the war. So there's nothing to worry about.
Beautiful. And how do we, because I think we can hear that intellectually, but we still have all these feelings. How do we be able to sleep at night and, process some of those feelings to get to that place of peace and confidence and hope?
Keep your eyes on him. Just like Peter, when Peter took his eyes off of Jesus when he stepped out of the boat, and he started to sink because he took his eyes off of Jesus. But Jesus didn't let him drown. He reached out his hand and pulled him right back up. He's his rescuer, as he is for all of us. So yes, it's going to look bad. It's going to look like a horror film. It's going to be that scary. But to know that, just like my story, God saved me, and he saves all of us.
Beautiful. Thank you, Dondee. I so appreciate your sharing today, and congratulations on your book being out there, becoming a bestseller, reaching so many hearts and lives.
Thank
and
you.
What is the best way for people to connect? You're welcome to connect and go deeper.
It's through my website, horizonofhopepress.com.
Horizonofhopepress.com.
Yeah.
Perfect.
They can put their email information in there, and then that I would know how to contact them.
Okay, great. I like that. Keeps it simple and easy. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Dondee, for sharing and joining us today. I appreciate it.
Thank you for the opportunity.
You're very, very welcome. And viewers, we so appreciate you tuning in and joining us today. We're going to go ahead and take a 10-minute break, and then we will be back for part 2 of our summit. Welcome back, everyone. We are getting ready to start part 2 of our beautiful summit, and we are excited to be live streaming and connecting with all of you today. And so as we go forward, it looks like we had one question I missed for you, Dondee. Since I see you on the screen, I figured I would ask. And the question was, let me just pull it up again so I'm reading it accurately for you. Curious about all that you've gone through and bringing the book forward and sharing. How has this shifted your teaching, or has it?
Well, with full-time teaching with kids, I haven't. Last time I was full-time teaching was back in 2024 because I left in order to write my book. I'm substitute teaching, fortunately, so I still get to work with children. But every day that I show up with kids, I just try to bring them as much happiness and joy as I possibly can, to bring that bright energy. But I feel like that's how I've always shown up, even in my deepest pain. Even when I was going through the time of being separated from my son, I just was determined to put that smile on my face and bring them happiness and joy, and to be the best that I could be, so that they could be the best that they could be, to fulfill their dreams someday.
Beautiful. I like that. And I love that as you continue to work with children, that just continues to be on your heart and spirit. Thank you. I
Thank you.
appreciate you taking
Thank
time
you.
for another question. Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and we are getting ready for our next amazing guest. And looks like I just have one tech thing to handle here. So let me do that. Great. So John Lanier, I'm excited to introduce to you. I know you're going to enjoy meeting him, his heart, his spirit, and his passion for helping businesses. So it is exciting to give you a little snapshot. Remember, this is just a snapshot of John, and you can always dig in and know more. So John Lanier is CEO of Middle Market Methods, is a seasoned profit rainmaking resultant. He believes in giving you great results. He savors serving leadership teams for whom excellence never rests in their winning the right way quest for market share. His profit rainmaking odyssey spans over 40 years of continuously honing the secrets to loyal customers, exceptional operations, and inspired teams. Through consulting, speaking, and writing, his passion manifests in successful David and Davita's competition with their corporate Goliaths. He wants to help them win. He delights in faith, family, and college football, and is passionate about helping you get great results in your business and life. Let's lean in. Warmly welcome the dynamic, powerful, and passionate John Lanier to the show. Welcome.
Hey!
Yay.
By the way, I noticed that Ethan was wearing uh, an athletic type sweater, and I thought I saw a Georgia logo on it.
You sure
I
did.
thought,
Go dogs.
oh, we are going to be best friends forever. Yes. Woof.
I love the connections that get made, right? It's beautiful.
I'm among my people.
I love it. I love it. Well, I wanted to welcome you. I'm glad to have you joining us today. And I wanted to start with, why is this work of helping businesses, particularly the owners of these smaller middle market businesses, why is that personally so important to you?
Well, let me begin with sharing what a delight it is to be among such an august group of people and a lot of variety. This is spectacular. For 45 years, I've served lower middle market businesses. Started as a lender and then as a value creator. It is a passion to help these smaller business owner operators compete successfully with behemoths. And it may seem daunting just by comparing small to large, but it's not. I would argue that the small and nimble, much like a PT boat, is much more maneuverable when you're up against a dreadnought, because it's sort of sluggish, bureaucratic, and set in its ways. And I am all about helping the little guy compete with the big guy. So it keeps me young at heart. And as long as the mind and body hold up and Delta Airlines still has wings, I will do this until I'm on the dirt side of the grass.
Well, I love your commitment to it and your passion for helping. And I love this perspective that these businesses have the advantage of being able to be more nimble. Because I think sometimes we can look at the size of what we are competing against or playing with, in the field, in the industry, and feel like we can't compete with that. And I love how you have the opposite perspective that absolutely you can, and you can be more nimble as you navigate. So, as you have worked for so many years in this space and in this industry, you've recently decided, I'm going to bring a book forward. And I know you were passionate about putting as much in this book as you could to really, really help the businesses out there. I mean, you were adamant about, I want to give them all the good stuff to really help them compete, to help them be successful, to help them build their teams. I'd love for you to share a little bit of why you decided to do that and who this book is for and how it can help those in the world.
Well, I appreciate the question. In this odyssey, this book might end up being volume 1 of 3, because one of the things I had to confront was distilling a bunch of content from a life actively lived into something more bite-sized. And I couldn't do that alone. I just couldn't do that alone. And along the way, some of the advisors, I got dubbed a content machine. Said, you're just full of stories. And my retort to that was, well, if you got to be accused of being full of something, I'll take stories any day of the week. And I use those to help, perhaps allegorically, my clientele understand a point in context. And I think perhaps one of the masters of this as an author is Patrick Lencioni. He lets the story prove the point. And I think it helps when you have a story to help not only your target audience perceive the what, but more importantly, it's the why. Because I'm deliberately in a business model that has absolutely zero position authority. I mean, zero. And the reason that's deliberate is that if you can't persuade, if you can't help someone talk themselves into doing something after you go home, you've wasted your time. Because we all have, and other people have alluded to, the reality that we are bombarded by more content than we can digest in 24 hours. So unless something gets to the top of the priority list for the right reasons, and Ethan did a great job of communicating to us how he uses tools to help do that. And that's the future. So unless we help somebody see why A is more important than B, or in some cases E is more important than A, B, C, and D put together, they have to convince themselves as to the merits of what they do first and why.
And this book, in bringing it forward, are you looking to help them do that, kind of sift through all the noise and information out there to be able to prioritize what they're looking at and how they're focusing?
Well, of course. And to go back to something we started with, exactly how can the smaller business person successfully compete with the monster? And I'd say it's between your ears. It's giving a hoot. One thing small business can't afford is bureaucracy. And it tends to be a chronic disease of the large. And small business people can't afford it and they can't hide. So you're inherently more accountable because the impact is relatively greater. And it's a let's call it a Darwinian governance model, but it's self-evident that you have to perform. You have to know what they want. You have to give it to your clients, your customers, the way they ask for it. And that's a quality, a timeliness, and a service soliloquy to establish value. And the definition of value is the customer got at least what they thought they bought. And to the extent they think they got more than they thought they paid for, that's by definition a bargain. And small business, I think, is more likely to produce a bargain than a big business.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. And your book went out into the world recently, became a #1 international bestseller, 64 categories, 11 of them #1s, multiple countries were impacted by this powerful book. What was that like to see Profit Rainmaking hitting the market? And that was just the beginning. That was just the launch, one format, as it's gone out to the world. And I know it's rippled out from there. What was that like?
It was like waking up in the land of Oz. uh, Truly, it was humbling. It was gratifying to share something. You know, you have to be everybody on this webinar would have to agree. You have to be highly motivated to do this. And that for me, this was a 2-year project. And somebody like Ethan, who's written multiple books, you know, you got to have a passion and resolve to get this done because we also have day jobs. So to do that with the motivations I had to help the people for whom I have a passionate commitment to have a differentiator, an arrow in their quiver that makes them more competitive, that's a big deal. So to get there and it resonate, I grin like the Cheshire Cat in my sleep. This is a good feeling.
I love it. Good. Good.
I don't want to lose it either.
Yeah. No, I was like, wait, where's the smile? Perfect. I love it. I love it. You know, to set out on something that's such an undertaking, because it is, it's a big undertaking, and all the revisions and all the things that you go through from having the idea to bringing it forward. You get to keep choosing to do so. You have to keep choosing, yes, keep taking the steps to do so and have that commitment and passion, and then to have it received so powerfully is just beautiful to see. Is there a favorite moment that you kind of think about, a comment that you got, or a review or something that just really stands out and represents that success for you, that connection?
I'll interpret that in a way. I'll give you a couple of bookends. All of us had people reviewing our manuscripts to give us constructive feedback. And I was so blessed by a number of people who really, really took this to heart. And it's a form of reciprocity because they know if I've got breath in my lungs and they need me, I'm there. It's what relationships are built on. So one of my many mentors said, John, the way I interpret what you put together here with the profit rainmaking and the 9 universal truths to achieve loyal customers, exceptional operations, and inspired teams, he said, you're describing here, you're providing a roadmap for owner operators to build a company that others would love to own, irrespective of the owner's intent to sell. So think about what that means. That means the company has a future if it chooses to have one. You don't necessarily have to sell to a financial or a strategic buyer. You could set it up for a family member. It could be an ESOP where the employees buy it. But the point is, if you have established something that creates recurring revenue streams profitably and keeps customers satisfied, and the punchline of all this, the real stroke of legacy value creation is if the place can run without the founder who built it. And one of the things I help my clientele with is realizing that that's not necessarily the case today, but it must be before you think you're going to retire. And the sad thing about this is, and this is a clarion call to anybody who may be thinking about this, is that this topic I'm talking about sounds like succession planning. Okay, the key word there is planning. But things happen in life. There's an old saw about mankind plans and God laughs. Well, if you haven't established the business that can operate in absentia, what happens if you don't make it home tonight because somebody decided that they needed to have a head on with you and you didn't wake up from it, or a stroke or a heart attack or something that leaves you indisposed? So the deliberate preparation for all this stuff matters. It matters greatly. And one of the things I hate to see happen, and this is where my increasing emphasis is on helping people get exit ready, is recognizing this threat. It's an existential threat. And how sad it is for someone to have all the intellectual property of the business model between their ears, and something that they built a lifetime developing. And if something befell them that left that untapped, then it might not be a viable business. And how sad that would be. And economically, it could be devastating to the estate. And what if you had small children that were depending on that for college tuition and other things? So sometimes we are so busy that we don't have time to think. And people like me, and it's getting easier to talk to people because I am a baby boomer. And when they look at me, obviously I have thin hair and what's left is gray. Then it's self-evident that I've got a lot of mileage on my odometer. And most of us don't get this old being idiots. We learn something that may have some value sharing. And I love sharing. And I also love packaging it in a story where through self-deprecation, maybe I can make the point register and us both share a laugh.
Love it. Thank you, John. Yeah, I always enjoy your sharing, and there's always wisdom. And this is really important that we're thinking about not keeping all of that information and intellectual property just inside us. It's really important that we get it out, and it has an opportunity to create a lasting impact. We don't want that to pass away with us and not be available to the world. The world needs it. So I love how you stand for that and are helping so many people do that and take a look at it, because we don't always want to look at that. So I like that you're helping people do that in a very kind way, but with real information to help them move forward. So is there something that maybe surprised you in those 2 years of creating the book and bringing it forward?
Yeah. And life's full of surprises. I'm not a rookie at this. This isn't the first book, and I've been writing for years. But to get this done in a way that gets more traction sooner rather than later, I encountered a boatload of force multipliers, you being one of them. And speaking of getting ready, there's a lot between ideation and implementation to make it available to purchase. And I benefited greatly by a number of people. And I got a shout out to a lady who lived rent free in my head for the better part of a year and a half, challenging everything I thought was sacred. And that was Sarah Victory. And there's another key player in this. I'll call you. You got to give me some leeway on a unisex term, but you're my version of the Three Musketeers. And the third one is a lady named Betty Ann Green, who was my ghostwriter. And she, in her own words, she says, "I'm going to adopt your voice and how I take this gargantuan lump of content and distill it down into something that means somebody will buy it and not leave it on a shelf like War and Peace and it look like you know what you're talking about. We got to make something practical and usable." and I just adore her. She did a jam up job of helping sort through what ought to be there and emphasized in my voice, and in a way that pulled in the stories appropriately, packaged them well, and I owe her an immeasurable debt of gratitude because she truly is a special human being, and it's a gift. It's a gift. She has a special gift. So that's how I'd answer your question, and hopefully I answered the question you asked.
Oh, it's great. I love where you go with what you share. And yeah, Sarah Victory and Betty and Green are just amazing, amazing people. So they're great people to have as part of your team. I love what you've brought forward. And I wanted to make sure everybody had the title. So can you share the full title of your book and where people can get it?
Oh, sure. Profit Rainmaking, which coincidentally is the URL for the website, is how you'll find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. Profit Rainmaking, 9 universal truths to achieve loyal customers, exceptional operations, and inspired teams. And if you'll indulge me on a little bit of how it came that way, the term profit rainmaking oftentimes connotes or denotes something that's revenue oriented. If you remember the Grisham novel, The Rainmaker, it was about somebody who brought home the bacon, if you will. Well, you can get yourself in trouble being the world's best salesman if your operational capacity cannot deliver what the customer thought they bought. And this whole thing is stewarded by talent. You have to have the right skill sets and the right positions at the right time with empowerment and accountability. And you have to have a pipeline because if you grow, you're going to need more of them. So all of these things collectively, where the revenue comes from, how we digest it into something the customer will be happy they got, and who did the work, that is a holistic depiction of profit rainmaking. And if you choose to buy the book very early, you're going to see a Venn diagram that shows how these things overlap to create a sweet spot, which I call profit rainmaking. So, and oh gosh, what was the movie line? And that's Beretta, and that's the name of that tune.
Perfect. And do you mind describing the cover? Because I know it has this upside down umbrella. It was you put a lot of thought into how the cover came together. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about that.
I really appreciate that question. Because most umbrellas are over your head to keep you from getting wet. In this case, it's upside down and it's catching cash. And I am blessed by Judy and I, my better half and I, are blessed by exceptional daughters, really smart, highly accomplished. And one is a creative genius and got her MFA at SCAD. And when I explained this, and I said, yes, sort of, I'm thinking of the musical Singing in the Rain, and there's Gene Kelly. And one of the things Gene Kelly does is basically render his umbrella moot because he's just happy getting wet. Well, if you got cash coming down on you because you're doing something exceptionally well that your customers are pleased to support, you don't care about getting wet, but you do care about banking the coin. So turn the umbrella upside down and instead of a repellent, make it a receptacle. And there you have it. And she even came up with what I think is the right color scheme, and we just rebranded everything. So that's the story. And I'm indebted to our youngest daughter, Jennifer, for that level of creativity that the old man couldn't fathom. But I sure am proud that she did it.
And it's a beautiful dynamic cover. So I love that. Thank you for sharing. Looks like we've got a couple of questions here. So I'm just kind of scanning through them. What's the biggest mistake CEOs make when trying to grow their business?
Boy, this is one of my favorite topics. And this is going to sound funny coming out, but think about this in first gear. Knowing that they can do every job in their company better than anybody who has the accountability. And why is that a problem? When you're a small company, your default mechanism is control, because when you started it, it was probably you, your dog Rover, and a Bowie knife. You couldn't afford much. And as you grow, one of the biggest challenge, it is the biggest challenge of the small businesses I work with, is not recognizing how quickly one runs out of bandwidth. And as you know, past 25 years, I've catered almost exclusively to lower middle market portfolio companies of private equity firms who saw that latent potential and said, we got to partner with you because this is special. Well, it's one of the number one problems is how do you delegate, empower, and hold accountable? And it's a really difficult learning curve. And if somebody just can't get comfortable with it, the succession I alluded to earlier is the only option. And you have to work out something that capitalizes on the institutionalized intellectual property up here so that you can impart it, acculturate it, and imbue other people with it so that you can sail off into the sunset and the business still operate well. So that is the biggest mistake that I see.
Thank you for sharing. And that is a hard transition
Yeah.
because, I can just do it. I can just do it faster. I'll just take care of that. But pretty soon you're just spread way, way too thin. Yeah.
There's a close second.
Oh, okay.
I spend a lot of time with clients helping them concisely compose their unique value proposition. And it amazes me how many businesses don't give this sufficient thought. And what I mean by that is it explains, a unique value proposition explains why our customers voluntarily exchange their cash for what we offer. We assume we know what it is, but unless you can encapsulate it, and I've got 3 or 4 clients that are in the Hall of Fame for getting it into 3 words. 3 words. It's hard. This is hard. When I usually ask, I get a Shakespearean soliloquy, and after about 5 minutes, I go, time out. That's not a sentence. I'm after a soundbite. And we spend time on that, and it's like, oh, we're done now? No, 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 no. That's what you think it is. Unless you get voice of the customer, objective voice of the customer, you don't know. You have to validate and verify what, why, and it's timeliness, quality, service to create value. And if the customers don't agree with you, you got to start over because there's a bad disconnect, and it only gets worse if you don't pay attention to it. So the confirmation of your unique value proposition, which infers you have objective voice of the customer. You say, well, I'll get my salespeople to ask them. No, you won't. Because if they've got a good relationship, it is very difficult for a human being to tell their best friend they think their baby's ugly. But I'd rather, he said, well, how do we get over that? Well, ask somebody who's a professional to help you get this information. Why would I do that? They may tell me we're terrible. So wouldn't you rather they tell you directly that you're terrible as opposed to your competitor? You may have time. If you try, you'll get a second chance if you care. But you may lose an account if you don't pay attention to stuff like this. So, there's a short list of things to get scalable on a robust basis. And that's where I live. And I if somebody says they want help, I will drink all the coffee on the planet staying awake to be there nonstop until we figure it out. Because first of all, that's an elixir for me. And knowing that they are getting this done to the expense and detriment of a behemoth they're competing with just gives me my jollies. So that's me encapsulated.
Beautiful. Thank you, John. I appreciate your shares. And as we come to a close in this segment, do you have any final thoughts that you want to share with our viewers today?
Let's get philosophical for a second. All knowledge has a half-life. All knowledge has a half-life. One day we'll look back, Ethan, and AI will be so common we won't think of it as a game changer anymore. Disruptive innovation has become normative, if you will. So knowing that all knowledge has a half-life, we have to be continuous learners. If we aren't, we become stale and eventually extinct. So, and it can be worse. We can be boring. So I make a point of, I am blessed with eclectic friends. We exchange titles it's all over the board. I have a lot of different tastes, but what I'll tease you with as an exit here is anything I have encountered, I consume at least one decent sized book a month. And anything that's worth, I think, reading to my clientele, I'll put it on my website. So there's a resource page and you'll find 300 titles. And I'll get you off to an easy start with the top 15 at the top of the page. But the reason I do that is it's easier and cheaper to learn from others' mistakes and their epiphanies than finding out through personal experience. And that's why I think continuous learning is a non-negotiable. It really is. So I thought I was hot stuff when I got out of college with a degree. And I just realized the real education was out in the field and it had just started. The degree was a hunting license. But I did get curious. And along the way, I went back to school. I thought for one degree and it ended up being two because I got fascinated by why these things that I do work or not, rooted in science. And I didn't necessarily intend to get all that stuff, but I became more valuable to my clients because I got more critical of myself and why does this work or not? And if it doesn't have science behind it, my clients never know it because I don't even ask them to consider it. So that's what I'd end with. Be curious. It is insular to avoiding extinction. And I don't want to be extinct until I take my dirt nap. I want to be relevant right up until my last breath.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing, for the work that you do, your passion and commitment to it. And what is the best way for people to connect and go deeper?
I'd say start the easy way, profitrainmaking.com, and it's the gateway to everything. It's all linked. It's really simple. And by the way, I write private articles in conjunction with the things like the book on a quarterly basis. I post these things called Profit Rainmaking Minutes, which are short videos of things that my motivation is something that's actionable out of the gate. You know, because if you're going to invest time, I need to give you something you can use and make money with it. And it is incredibly gratifying, as has been the case with this book, for people you don't know who reached out and said, I felt like you were across the table talking to me, or I really got something out of this, or I'd never thought about it that way. Wow, this is good stuff. That is like putting wind in the sails of a ship. And it really, really is a good feeling. And I don't know how to end on a higher note than that, other than thank you ever so much for the invitation to participate in this. I can't wait to hear from everybody else. These are good topics, and I'm hooked.
I love it. I love it. Oh, and just as we were winding down, Betty Ann heard your shout out.
Oh, she did.
She did. And she goes, I adore you too, John. It was a joy to work with you. Go, Davids. Go, Davidas. So you got it live. So thank you, Betty Ann, for watching. And John, thank you so much for sharing with us today. We're thrilled to have you. And you've given
Pleasure
us a
was
lot
mine.
of,
Thank you.
wonderful insight and
Thank you.
perspective. So thank you. Beautiful. Well, we are going to bring up our next amazing guest, and I'm excited to introduce her. She's going to be doing a presentation about crushing chaos, the keys to scale. See how these all dovetail and fit nicely together? I love it. And I'm excited to just share a little bit about her so you have a little bit of perspective as she leans into sharing with us today. So, Allison C. Williams is an international speaker, nationally recognized attorney, and business strategist who has built, scaled, and now leads multiple seven-figure companies. As the founder of Law Firm Mentor, she has coached thousands of lawyers on how to grow profitable, sustainable practices without burnout. In her book, Crushing Chaos, the law firm's owner's guide to more money, more free time, and less stress, Allison shares the proven framework she has used to transform operational overwhelm into structured, scalable success. Known for her direct, high impact style, she is passionate about empowering leaders to reclaim control, build systems that work, and create businesses that deliver both freedom and financial power. Let's lean in, warmly welcome the powerful and dynamic Allison C. Williams. Welcome.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you so much for having me on this summit. And thank you for all of the amazing authors that I have had the privilege of speaking alongside and learning from today. I always love the opportunity to be amongst greatness. And that's one of the things that I very much spend my time and energy helping others to achieve. And so with that, I do want to talk today about crushing chaos. So as Rebecca shared with you, this is my baby. Crushing Chaos is the product of many years of time tested and evaluated strategies that we use in my company, Law Firm Mentor, to help law firm owners to grow their revenues, crush chaos in business, and make more money. And crushing chaos as an idiom is really about systems. It is about creating a systemic approach to doing everything so that everything gets easier, faster, more profitable, and more scalable in your company. So you already have a little bit about me. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time there, but I will highlight the idea that I think is the premise of all of this, which is people always ask me, what is it about you that I should choose you over someone else? And so to John's point about knowing your most valuable premise, I always tell people what's exciting about me, what's interesting about me is not the fact that I built a law firm. It's not the fact that I built a seven-figure company. It's not the fact that I built a second seven-figure company. It's about the fact that I do both of those things. I run both of those companies contemporaneously on very little time, relatively speaking. Sometimes I work 10 hours a week. Sometimes I work 30 hours a week. I don't work a 40-hour work week. I vacation when I want, and I have a life of freedom. And freedom is the thing that most people are seeking to achieve when they start a business, but very quickly realize that business will run you over and run you into the ground if you don't have the right approach to it. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about chaos. And the number one thing we always start with when people ask about how to scale a business and how to achieve what they want out of business is functionally to recognize that chaos is not the price of growth. That is the assumption that a lot of people make that, if there must be chaos, it has to be hard, there has to be hustle, there's going to be some time of struggle. And that mindset finds its way into the ether of business. And that is the thing that we help lawyers to crush. So ultimately, chaos is not a prerequisite of growth. It is the result of a lack of systems. And when most people hear systems, they think about things like software. They think about automating workflows. They think about kind of a step-by-step process to do A, B, C, or D in a business. And it is that, but it's also building out a systemic approach to how you do things because our minds need shortcuts. If I ask the average person in the average day, what do you do to get up and get dressed? Most people would say, I get out of bed, I take a shower, I brush my teeth, and I put clothes on. What you don't think about is all of the micro elements of how much energy it takes for you to move your body to shift your feet onto the floor. And you don't think about how much time and attention your muscles have to take to actually lift your body up. And you don't think about putting one foot in front of the other to walk to the bathroom to get to your toothpaste. You think walk, toothbrush, bathe, clothing, right? Those are shortcuts. So functionally, your business runs on a whole host of shortcuts. And when there is chaos, you have created a system of your shortcuts that are simply not codified into a defined system that everyone operates on. So what ends up happening is all day, every day, we are doing what we do in business and we are creating outcomes. And we're not planning those outcomes. We're hoping for those outcomes to result from behavior. Crushing chaos is about being intentional about what are going to be the actions that we take as a collective in order to achieve a defined outcome. So ultimately, that's what this book is premised on, and that's what we help lawyers across the country to do on a regular basis. So functionally, the shortcut to this is what you see on the screen right here. I'm going to use my colloquialisms because, I grew up in a Navy town, so the Navy comes out of me sometimes. I tell people you got to get your shit together. And that's a very easy, simplified way of getting to clarity, delegation, resilience, and continuous improvement. Okay, those are the functional pieces of a system for how you should do everything in a law firm business in order to scale the business in all of the 5 pillars which we're going to talk about. So functionally, what does that mean? Well, we start with clarity, right? We need to define the vision, the processes, and the metrics. We need clarity around that. We need to know what they are, so much so that any person that works in a division of your business can identify them. People can't be held accountable to a standard if they don't know what it is. And a firm without clarity runs reactively. Almost invariably, there is someone who knows how to do things in your business. They figured something out, but it isn't because you told them. It isn't because it was written or documented. It is because they observed and they wrote a story, that shortcut we talked about earlier. They wrote a story around what they learned from observing, and then they pieced it together. And that is a very functional way of doing things. We all learn from identification by looking. But what happens when the person observes something and they write a story that you didn't intend to tell? They figured something out the wrong way. That usually results in us saying something along the lines of, oh my God, this person's an idiot. Why can't they just figure out how to do X, Y, Z? Oh, how many times do I have to tell them? Well, here's the problem. Telling people after they've already done something wrong that they did it wrong because you didn't tell them how to do it right in the first place doesn't usually get the level of uptake that we would like. Even though many of us are fueled on punishment, that's how we were learning as children, that isn't the most effective way for the human mind to learn. So before someone writes the story the wrong way, you want to give them the map of doing it the right way, and that is clarity. Second, we need delegation, okay? There's only so many hours in a day, and there's only so much activity that can be accomplished. And what I always tell people, fundamentally, you have to understand to create profit in a business, you need the most qualified, least expensive person doing the activity. So when you think about that, and you look at what is on your plate, almost invariably, especially in a smaller business, when you're just starting out before you have all of the roles filled out, you're going to have someone doing something that they are overqualified to do. The more of that you have in the business, the more you are eating your profit. Because a $500 an hour attorney should not be doing $200 per hour paralegal work, just as a $200 an hour paralegal should not be doing $50 an hour legal administrative work, just as a $50 an hour legal administrator should not be doing $20 an hour runner work. And the more things flow upstream, the more you're going to be ultimately eating profit. And that's how we get to a place where there is chaos, because at some point, there are things that you and only you at your higher level and your higher competency can handle that cannot be delegated. So everything that can be delegated should be delegated to an appropriate person when they have clarity as to what they should be doing. Third of the get your shit together profile here is resilience. Okay. And when we hear resilience, most of us have a conception of what that means. But functionally, chaos ultimately returns every growth cycle. Okay. You're always going to have some iteration of chaos find its way back into your business. And if you don't get into a habit of learning how to endure the discomfort of chaos for the time that it is here as you are crushing it to get to your next level of system, what normally happens is people get burned out. They get tired, right? The mind and the body can only handle so much small t trauma that becomes big T trauma when things go wrong. And so you have to build the muscle of enduring that chaos a little bit while you are working to get rid of it. Or else, what tends to happen is you write a story in your mind, because humans don't like change. You write a story that says, ultimately, if there's chaos, that means I am doing something wrong, something is not working, there's a problem, and you then decide you will not grow anymore. And that is almost always where we find companies get stuck. They step in the direction of growth, it gets really uncomfortable, and they say, I can't do this anymore. And then finally, we move over to continuous improvement. And this is something that I think most lawyers understand at a conceptual level because as professionals, we tend to want to find ourselves moving up and up and up in our career. And that usually improves the output. So we try to improve the output by improving the input. Okay. The continuous improvement in a business works generally the same way, with the exception of the idea of reviewing, refining, reconnecting. Okay. So every time we do something, we should be intentional about seeking to improve it, even if it is working exceptionally well. That doesn't mean that you should never get content or satisfied with your business. It means that you should always recognize that what works today will not work tomorrow, not because it wore out or you weren't doing it well, but because your business is an ever evolving ecosystem. And so as the ecosystem evolves, it needs to have systems that evolve with it. Now, once we have this framework, we apply it to the 5 functional pillars of a business, right? So we've got marketing, sales, people, systems, and finance. And you must get your shit together in each of these divisions continuously in order to have a functionally well-run, highly profitable business, but particularly if you're going to scale that business. Because if you scale chaos, you create grievances, you create unhappy clients, you create malpractice, reputational risk, and a host of other foibles that most people recognize and oftentimes associate with growth that don't have to correlate with growth, but often do. And again, that's when people decide to stop growing. So chaos in any one of these pillars bleeds into the other 4, which means you want to functionally understand that you are always going to be in a state of seeking clarity, delegating, having resilience through the process, and continuously improving in each of these areas all of the time. And when you understand that that is what you are looking to do, and you instinctually go to these 4 parts of a system for growing a business, you recognize it gets a lot easier. It doesn't feel like you are hoping or throwing something against the wall and seeing what sticks, right? You actually have a framework. The same way that we have to learn how to learn when we are in school, we have to learn how to learn when we are growing a business. So let's talk about the 5 areas. We're going to cover this briefly. For each of the areas, there is a premise that I want you to take away. So you see that premise across the top, and you'll see that across the top of each of the screens that we're going to go through. So with marketing, you can't serve who can't see you. Pretty simple, right? A lot of lawyers think that if I just happen to be really good, I will have some good clients. My happy clients will tell their friends and family, and poof, I will have a business. And once upon a time, that was the way in which we worked. And then, the Pony Express started to get a little bit more updated, and we moved ourselves into a world where information overload is all around us all the time, right? We had Ethan earlier talk to us about AI, and of course, we know that AI optimization is now even more important than search engine optimization. They are not one and the same, but they are very much correlated. And we have to always keep in mind that our strategies will change. But the one thing that will not change in marketing a business is that if people don't see you, you can't serve them. They have to see you. So you have to always be thinking about how to create an omnipresence of your availability and your visibility, whether you are physically there or not. One of the most recent tools I stumbled upon, I'll just throw this out as an anecdote, is this video tool called HeyGen. And I don't know if anybody here, I see Ethan shaking his head, so he's probably familiar with it. But for anyone that may or may not have heard about it, it's a video. It's an AI video tool, and you essentially record your voice and record a script that they give you. And then functionally, they're able to clone your voice, clone your body, and put you in different outfits and put you in videos, a whole host of places where you are not present. All you have to do is write the script and give it to it. And actually, you don't have to write the script. AI can write the script for you. That's a whole other topic for another day. New tool, okay? New way of getting in front of people. I'm not telling you it is the way to get in front of people, and I'm telling you the one premise that you will always have to master is the idea that if people can't see you, you can't serve them. So there's some fears that we talk about in the book about what inhibits people from being seen in marketing. And that typically includes the fear of being seen, the fear of being judged, the fear of underachieving, which is a big one for professionals, the fear of overachieving, i.e., who does he think he is, XYZ, and then the fear of failure. And if you don't conquer these fears, then the process that you create around marketing will almost always embody some iterative form of them. All right, next up, sales, my personal favorite part of a business, right? If we're not selling, we're at some point in time not going to be in business. So every consultation that happens for the possibility of selling legal services is a sales conversation. Now, that's true whether or not you are conducting it as a sales conversation. So it's important that we think about that. Your people process ideation is that your team protects your time or pulverizes it. Your team is always going to either add to your time or it is going to take away from your time. And how that happens is a product of how you formulate your team, not just who you hire, but how you work with them, how you train them, and how you ultimately delegate authority and activity to them. And then your systems. Your systems, when we talk about crushing chaos, we talk about systems. But in this instance, we're talking about the operations of a business, right? So the heart and the art of crushing chaos is in the system. How do we create systems? How do we embody them? How do we launch them into our business? And how do we teach people in our business that the fact that we have a system is not a thought, it's not a suggestion, it's not an idea, it's not a recommendation, it is a requirement. People have to understand that while you love hearing ideas, the fact that someone has an idea does not authorize a change to a system. Now, that doesn't mean that you will not ever change your system. It means that we start with the premise that we all do things in the same way so that the genius of the role can actually take form where it's supposed to. Not everywhere, right? Everyone does not need to have an ownership over how we load paper into the copy machine or how we send our PDFs or how we load our software, right? These are things that ultimately have a system, and then the genius of the role takes space in its defined container. And then finance, right? How do we run numbers? And ultimately, the premise we need to understand about running numbers is you run the numbers or you will be run by them. So you have to be intentional about how you structure your finances. And for people that are not money people, don't worry. I am not trying to teach you that you need to go out and get an MBA in finance to run a law firm. You absolutely do not. Back of the napkin might be where you start. It just can't be where you stop. So we start with the idea that we have to run our numbers, and we have to always understand that if we are not running them, they are running us. So how does this help us? Well, the keys to scale in a business in each of these areas is to ensure that the GIST format is being functionally applied in each of the pillars of business. That means you need clarity, delegation, resilience, and continuous improvement in your marketing, sales, people, systems, and finance. Now, that sounds like a lot, but it's distilled down to the idea that if you don't crush chaos in business, you cannot make more money. And if you make more money, you cannot capture more time contemporaneously without this fundamental premise. So once we understand that, we have the keys to scale. And so with that, I want to invite you, for anyone that got value out of this, had some nuggets of thought that landed for you, you can always find us by virtue of buying the book. Of course, the book is available on Amazon and, of course, every other place that you could go out and get a beautiful business book like this. However, even beyond that, we have free resources on our website. So I know that at some point, Rebecca is going to ask me to tell you where you can find us. And the thing that I always tell people is my website is kind of the portal to everything you would want to know about Law Firm Mentor, about me as a business strategist, and about our team, but most importantly, about how to crush chaos in a law firm business so that you can create the law firm of your dreams. And so, with that, I will stop the presentation. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to entertain those.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for walking us through that and really giving us clarity on what we need to get together to crush that chaos in different areas. So thank you for your sharing. I do have a couple of questions. Let me just glance through them. Which pillar made the difference in your own journey from zero to multi-seven figure? Was there one in particular that made the big difference, or is really the combination of all?
Well, so thank you for the question. Me personally, I would say the one that really optimized things for me personally was the finance piece. When I started a law firm, I already had a book of business of about $700,000. It's kind of where I topped out on my first year, which is not traditionally where people start when they start a law firm. But I needed to know how to manage all of a sudden having all of this money running through my hands. And making payroll and paying the bills was lesser of an issue. It was more the where do I put my strategic investments and what's a good use of time and money. And so I was very anxious about getting that wrong. So I spent a lot of time and energy checking the bank account every day. And oh my God, a check just came through, which means we have $418 less than the $30,000 that was in there yesterday. Like there was a lot of anxiety around money. So I had to really get into my own head and figure that out and get a system around money. And that was the one that helped me the most. But it really does vary from person to person. It just kind of depends on where your strengths and interests lie. And what will ultimately make the most difference for you personally is going to depend on that.
Thank you for sharing that. And that makes a lot of sense. But I think that money one is probably popular. It's an area that people have a lot of discomfort. I found when I was a financial advisor years ago, it's like they didn't want to get specific. They wanted to just stuff it in the closet and kind of hope it all worked out. But you really had to get clear to be able to build where you want to go. And
Yeah,
so,
especially when you start paying that large tax bill.
yeah, absolutely.
Having it taken
Absolutely.
out every couple of weeks from a paycheck is very different to having to write that quarterly bill.
Exactly. Very, very different. I love it. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. And which creates more chaos, a missing system or a leader who keeps overriding the system?
Well, definitely a leader.
Okay.
All problems in business are leadership problems because ultimately you take personal responsibility for the container that you create. And so if the leader is overriding a system, that is dysfunction in a whole host of areas. It's signaling to the team that they also can and should overwrite the system. It is showing a devaluation of systems in the first place. So people then learn, autonomously, getting it done efficiently, getting it done right, or how I feel is right, is superior to having a systemic approach. And then, of course, it also signifies that the bread and butter of what a person's going to focus on is where they personally have their bread buttered. So if my paycheck is dependent on keeping this person happy and this person kind of defaults to changes, then what I'm going to pay attention to is not the system, but when and where I think the changes are going to happen. So is my system likely to change because my owner's in a bad mood, or because my owner is in a state of chaos, or because a client is not happy, or because a bill wasn't paid? So people learn more from observing the totality of you than they do from just what you say. Verbal communication is only 7% of total communication. So you have to keep that in mind as a leader at all times. And if you're not applying your systems appropriately, then that definitely is going to create dysfunction in your business.
Oh, and just I could just see that ripple going out into all systems, all areas. So very, very important. And there's so many questions. Let me sort through. I think let's go to Crushing Chaos, your book. What's the one message you hope readers take away from your book?
The one message I would want readers to take away from the book is that building a scalable business is not only possible, but it is exceptionally likely when you have the right system. If you commit yourself to the idea that there is a systemic approach to do everything, when you start looking at the world and seeing how systemic the world actually is, then you don't see any deviation as a moral failing or the result of bad people or inherent malcontent. You see it as a simple piece of data that tells me that I haven't engineered or been clear about the systems that I need to create in my company. And when you have that, it actually creates a lot of freedom. It makes it a lot easier to decide who's the right fit or not for your company. It's a lot easier to take control of your time to create a business that does not require you to be physically present for it to run well. That's really the heart of everything. So that's what I would want people to take away from the book.
And as you're sharing that, it just feels very empowering that we can look at it that way, step away from it a little bit, and make decisions based on that. So I think that's so powerful. Thank you for sharing. Well, there are more questions than we have time for, everyone, but I appreciate your questions. So I'm going to have Allison share the best way to connect and let you know for additional questions, you can reach out, as well as the best way to tap into some of her resources and connect with her deeper. So, Allison, what's the best way?
Sure. So if anyone wants to reach out to me personally, you can always email me at info@lawfirmmentor.net. My team answers the emails, but anything that's directed to me personally, especially after I speak, I do always personally answer those emails. And then also, if you want access to resources, information about the book, information about Law Firm Mentor as a coaching community, you can find that out on lawfirmmentor.net and go to our resources tab where there's information on the book, as well as a whole host of diagnostic tools that relate to these issues that are covered in the book.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your sharing the presentation, the knowledge and information that you've shared with us today. I took lots of notes, so I always appreciate that, and your time today as well. Thank you. Well, we are going to go to our next amazing guest, John Gullo. So, John, I just want to see if you're able to turn the camera on and unmute because we'd love to see you.
Yeah, can I did that? Can you hear him now?
I can hear you.
Okay, go ahead and start the video.
Oh, there we are. Yay. Wonderful.
Okay, you got it?
Yep. I can see you, John, and I can hear you. So
Okay.
perfect. Glad to have you joining us. And I'm going to introduce you to our viewers today, just to give them a little taste of who you are, and then I'm excited to have you share. So John Gullo was raised in Buffalo, New York, where his street smarts turned to business savvy as he first worked his way up in the grocery industry. He then entered the restaurant business and ended up with many achievements while working for Burger King and eventually became a Burger King franchisee. But he wasn't satisfied with only building restaurants. He then launched dozens of nonprofit projects with a massive patriotic flair in his nonprofit, the American Dream Foundation. And he has just recently published and released his #1 international best-selling memoir, Extraordinary Adventures of an Ordinary Man, a true American success story. Always the opportunist, he also found the sport of pickleball, built courts, and started professional pickleball, giving him the title of the father of pro pickleball. and he is absolutely passionate about making a positive difference. Let's lean in and warmly welcome the powerful and dynamic John Gullo. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. And it's great to listen to everybody on this platform. Truly a group of self-made people, and that's what America is all about, the opportunity to create and be whatever you want to be.
I love it. Well, I'm thrilled to have you joining us today and sharing. And you believe in that. Every conversation I've had with you, you have always shared that, lifted others up, and been passionate about people leaning into opportunities and growing. And so I appreciate that about you. And I wanted to see, why did you decide to write a book? Why was that personally important to you with all the other things that you do, that became a really important project for you?
Well, it was never a desire. A few years back, I was asked to give a speech to 800 IRS employees on the power of one. And in that talk, I utilized the fact that service is the most important thing in life to me. And I spent a lot of time telling my life story through the course of that speech. I was at a function with a publisher that I said people had told me I should write my story. I sent her a copy of the speech, and she said she not only wanted to help me write the book, but she wanted to publish it. Unfortunately, COVID hit. She ran into some financial problems, and I was down for about a year and a half in the process. And then I ran across a woman, Bridget Cook, who is a Times bestseller, and we had worked together on a child abuse thing, and asked her if she was in the position to help me write my book and finish it. And she said yes, and we went ahead and did it, and she really helped me a lot.
I love it. And she helped you bring your book forward, and it became really well received, #1 international bestseller. What was it like to launch it and have it received in that way? I know you had glowing reviews.
It, it was humbling. You have to understand, I barely got out of high school, so I'm not the most fluent person when it comes to that type of communication. Um, Remembering everything going back, 82 years. It was amazing how it came apart. And where she really helped me was, what the best way I can sell it. One of the people interviewed was Don Belknap. He was president of the school board I was on, and he described me as John's a guy with an admiral's mind with a sailor's mouth. And that's where Bridget came in. She took and toned my stuff down and made it more palatable. How's that?
Well, it's a beautiful book, and I love how it's not only a memoir sharing your story and your journey, but you have those tips and reflections at the end of every chapter.
Well, originally Bridget asked me if this was for my family or for more, and I says, it's total involved. It has to be both because my business lessons were my life lessons, and hopefully one of the benefits out of this book, because we did life lessons after each chapter, that the people that read it will take and learn from it and uh, you have it impact their lives. I've been very fortunate, very lucky in many ways, right time, right place in my career. I started with Burger King when Burger King started franchising. I was one of the first franchise district managers. My job was to teach guys with money how to run restaurants, and ultimately ended up owning my own.
Beautiful. Now, I know as this book has gone out into the world, you're doing a lot of different things with it and really helping get the message out there, but also helping on the nonprofit side of things. Do you mind sharing a little bit about what you're doing there?
Well, first of all, the book is owned by my foundation, and all the proceeds from the book will go to my work within the foundation. But what I'm doing is offering this, especially within the pickleball community, which is very important to me, is offering everybody the right to sell the book and keep the money. And I'm covering all the costs. We've done that with 3 organizations already, and we're pursuing more of that. One of the people that wrote my book, Mark Stedmeyer, called me after he read it and says, John, your generation, my generation know a lot. If there's a way we can get people in the younger generation to read your book and learn your life lessons, we got a chance of really having an impact on the world. And right now, I'm working with Thurl Bailey, and he wrote the foreword for my book, and there's a chapter in there that we did together. And we're working on taking this into the school system and doing a leadership training type of thing in the school system. And we're going to be using one of the schools in Ogden, Utah as a pilot. And part of that would be is every kid in the school at General Assembly will get a copy of my book. Although Bridget did say we might have to edit it a little bit.
Yep, depending on the audience.
Yeah.
But I love one thing I learned about you as we went on the journey together is you never do anything small. It's never small. It always goes big. And even with how you met Thurl, do you mind sharing about that?
Yeah, I was at a fundraiser for Christmas Box House, and there was a silent auction, an evening of basketball for 15 kids with Thurl Bailey. And, he's a former NBA player on the greatest NC2A team ever with Jim Valvano. And I bought it. The 15 kids ended up being 150. I was very involved with the inner city program in Ogden called Youth Impact. And I brought Thurl up to be with the kids, but more than the basketball part of it, he's just a great person. And he had a talk with all these kids. It was so impactful that I ended up creating a video for Youth Impact to raise money, and Thurl was part of it because how he's a great public speaker, he's a great singer. In fact, my humor was I did one event called Hot Country Nights, and he helped me do this. And I turned to him and I said, "What's with all these country singers, all like 5'4", 5'5"?" And he says, "Yeah, they all wanted to play basketball, and I wanted to sing." And I ended up playing basketball. So we developed a great relationship over those years. We've done a lot of charity work together, and we continue to do stuff together.
I love it. Now, as this book goes out and you're doing so many different things with it, what do you hope the reader gains in reading it?
I think the most important thing, and I say in the book, there's two types of mistakes in life. One's a mistake that's a positive mistake when you're trying to do something and it goes wrong. And, I can live with those. The negative mistakes are the ones that, are just flat out mistakes. We're here to learn, and we learn from our mistakes. In fact, I'm talking with my grandkids. I let them know. I says, you learn more in life what not to do than you learn what to do. And you learn from those mistakes. And there's nothing wrong with making a mistake as long as it's a learning process and you don't repeat it.
Beautiful. Thank you. Now, do you have a favorite moment of when the book has gone out into the world? I know you've done some book signings. Is there a favorite moment that comes to mind?
Well, I think part of the book, when I'm researching my Burger King career, I promoted a guy to a restaurant manager when I was a company district manager. Then I became franchise district manager, and I would send franchisees to his restaurant because he ran great restaurants. I ended up becoming a franchisee. He ended up becoming vice president of operations at Burger King. Later on, with change of presidency, like happens in corporation, he was let go, and after his 2-year non-compete, he ended up becoming president of Wendy's. And when Bridget was interviewing him, he says, John really mentored us when he was back there. He was older than us, but now here I am working for Dave Thomas, the guy that created Wendy's. And I go to him with a problem, and he gave me the same answer to solve my problems that John gave me back in the old days. He says, just do it right. And it's that simple. Life is just that simple. Just do it right. The other thing that's in the book that I really helped me was when I first opened my restaurant in the late 70s. Sid Caesar had just come out of rehab. He's a former great TV comedian, and he was interviewed by the TV station and says, "What did it take you to come back?" And he says, "I realized it took the same amount of energy to cry as it does to laugh. The choice is mine." And when you stop and think about it, it's really that simple. Life is really that simple. We choose what we want to spend our time on, and I choose to laugh.
I love it. I love it. That's very impactful. It takes the same amount of energy. Let's choose laughing. Much better choice. I love it. Oh, I have some questions already for you. I'm just kind of scanning through. what's a leadership lesson that changed everything for you?
In my early days in the meat business, I had a really good relationship with the meat manager when I was the first cutter. And we had a great relationship, but a lot of times we'd be talking and he would walk away. And I would wonder what was wrong. Later on, when I became the manager, I talked to him and I said, Bert, why did you do that? You really made me wonder. He says, people watch. And if I spent too much time with you, other employees may think that you may be my favorite. So that was a way I utilized in order to make sure that everybody thought I was treating you fairly. And human relations is really critical in life. And that's the biggest thing I learned from him. The other thing in human relations was in part of the JCs. And, all of a sudden now I'm in charge of a community project. I've got to get a guy to help working for me that I might not really care for socially. But all of a sudden now I had to get him to use his talents to work on a project for me, and I wasn't paying for him. If you can get people to do stuff for you, not because there's an incentive of payroll or incentive, but that's the biggest thing I learned in community service is getting people involved and motivating them to work with you and not having that employer relationship control type of thing, making them want to do it because they wanted to do it and they want to be part of it.
Powerful. If you could return to one difficult moment in your life, would you change it or simply encourage yourself to go through it? If you could go back in time.
I use this all the time, especially with my grandkids. My generation, my first marriage failed after 22 years because my wife went through an identity crisis. We knew each other for 22 years, but we didn't know each other. And I tell my grandkids the most important thing you've got to do is learn how to talk to your spouses. Sometimes one of you is going to upset each other. When that happens, just keep your mouth shut. Wait a couple of days and then go back and say, honey, remember the other day we were doing this? Well, you said this and it really bothered me. Having confrontational discussions at a time of impact is the worst time to have a discussion. And I spent a lot of time sharing that with them, the right time to communicate, the right time to share, and not kind of like in the old days, you pick your turf.
Choose your battles, pick your turf.
Right.
That's smart. What does giving back provide? Because I know that's really important to you. When I read your story, your memoir, it was hard to put down because I just wanted to keep reading pages. But you're consistent about giving. That always motivated you from a young age on, giving back, giving more, being able to give more, being able to give Christmas gifts, being able to give more. What does giving back do to you and motivate you more than business success? And why is that something we should look at?
Well, I'll give you 2 points. In my church, we have a song, because I've been given much, I too much to give. I really believe God gave me the benefits and the talents and the wherewithal to do what I've done, and therefore I follow that. But after COVID, I sat down with my grandkids and I said, what did you learn? And the end result was, I says, what you learned was the difference between wants and needs. I was interviewed by the Deseret News and I explained this to him. He says, you have to understand, when I was a kid, everything was a want and everything was a need. Today's environment right now is there's so much that we take for granted that my generation dreamed about. And spending time working with kids, that's the communication. I said, if I can take a minute, I'll tell you a story. I had a junior pickleball program, and I took all the gold medal winners aside. I says, I have 2 sons. My first son went to Montana State, got a .9 GPA grade average, and we agreed he shouldn't go to school anymore, but he came into my business, and he now owns, bought, and paid for 4 restaurants. My second son was a Sterling Scholar in high school, went to University of Wisconsin, graduated in 3 years, went on to University of Toronto, got his master's degree, was on a free ride, went to St. John's University in Minnesota, and got his second master's degree on a free ride, was accepted by Oxford and got his master's doctorate degree from the University of Chicago on a free ride. Now, let me explain something to you. He will never make the money my first son will make, But if neither one of them ends up on Prozac, it's okay, because it's more important to be happy than it is to have a lot of money. Money doesn't buy you happiness. Accomplishment, sharing. What I do, I give away more money than I ever thought I'd make, and that's created my own foundation. And after I sold my business, that's what I do. I find opportunities to help, and just love doing it.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing, John. I so appreciate it, and I appreciate your heart to give, and all that you have achieved and brought into the world. As you reflect on our conversation, is there anything else on your heart that you want to share with our viewers today?
Getting back, my foundation is the American Dream Foundation. I believe in this country. I believe you can be anything you want to be. You got to work at it. If you fall, you got to pick yourself back up again. Don't hit walls, climb over the walls. That's what I want people to get out of my book, is the fact that there's no way, if you knew me where I grew up, in fact, I joke with Thurl because I says, you grew up in the ghetto. I grew up in the slums. Ghetto's kind of a nice word, kind of sounds cool. But there's no place I should be where I'm at today. Barely got out of high school. Learned on the street, learned well, and I've been very, very happy to do what I do, and I share everything I can with my friends, with my family.
Thank you for sharing today. I really appreciate it and the time. And what is the best way for people to connect, to go deeper, get your book, get involved in some of your organizations?
The book's available on Amazon, of course. JohnAGullo.com. If you contact us, and if you have a way that you think you can a project you can want to raise money for, we will provide the books for you to sell. The way we've been doing it right now is the book is $29.95 plus tax and shipping on Amazon. We provide the book and let them sell them for $25, and they get to keep the money, and it doesn't cost them anything.
Beautiful. And they should just go to your website if they're interested in
Yes.
exploring that. Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing, for making that available to our viewers. That's very generous, and I appreciate that. And your time today, being with us. Thank you for joining.
It was great being here. I'm glad you invited me.
Wonderful. Well, viewers, I want to thank you for joining us today. I hope you have a page full of notes or more. I know that I do. And one of the things we talked about, I was going back to my notes from the very beginning. So I have notes from the beginning, and I have notes that I've taken as we've gone on the journey together. And we talked about the message that was on your heart, and what is it that you are looking to break through. So what was on your heart that you need, that you're being reminded, and what is it that you are looking to break through, to break free from, to step forward in? I hope that you've gotten some really great tips, ideas, tools, and resources and insight to help you today in breaking free, moving forward. I am honored and humbled by each of the guests that have joined us and shared their wisdom, perspective, insight. You see, we have such a range of experts that have joined us today that it's been very rich. So I encourage you, instead of rushing off to the next thing, take a few moments for you to really digest some of what has been shared. And you just got a preview of a slide that we're going to share with you in a moment. But really take a moment to digest some of what's been shared and it's been impactful for you. And write down something you're going to take action on today, not someday, not eventually. Maybe it's a new perspective on hope, on AI, on how your business is structured, or you've been looking for that opportunity to raise funds for something that you are passionate and called to bring forward. Maybe you're ready to take on those big businesses and you just got some great tips and ideas and perspective to do that. What are the things that are landing for you? Give yourself time to actually process that. We're so frequently running off to the next thing. Give yourself some time. Let yourself process what's being shared and choose one or two or three things that you're going to take action on today. Maybe it's reaching out to one of our experts. Maybe it is getting a copy of their book. whatever that step is. And we wanted to share with you, if you're looking for additional support, if we can help you in some way, we'd be honored to do so. So the slide that they're going to show has a few things on it I just want to make available to you. So one, it gives you our website, which is yourpurposedrivenpractice.com, that you can log in, and we have all kinds of resources and ebooks. We have past summits there that you can watch and continue to grow and learn. We frequently do summits and podcasts that you're interested in being seen and sharing your words, your message. Reach out to us for that. You'll find a contact form on our site. We're happy to support and help. If we can help you in launching, publishing your book, helping you be seen on a higher level, we're really honored to do so. And then our special that we have today, this actually was going to expire next week. We've extended it in honor of this summit because I believe there's someone listening today that this will serve. So I wanted you to have time to sit with it and feel in. We're providing packages for one-on-one coaching, and we're offering a special that's almost half the rate of what we normally charge. And so on our website, you can go to Break Free This Summer. That's where you'll see all the details of the package that you can get that support. And I find when you can get that tailored, personalized support, you can move forward so much more quickly and effectively. So I encourage you, if you're feeling like, wow, I do need that connection, I want to explore that, take a look at that on our site. Again, it's yourpurposedrivenpractice.com, and you'll see all the details. We've extended it to August 15th. So you have a little bit of time to sit with it and see if that is something that will serve. Ultimately, I want you to find whatever it is, the resources, the support you need, the insight, the perspective, the book, the tools, whatever it is that you need to help you move forward. That's the biggest gift you can give the world, is being willing to keep growing. I like that. If you fall down, you get up again. You're curious, you're willing to learn, you're willing to grow, and you're willing to keep going forward, because each of you are a gift. There's no one else in the world just like you, and you're needed. You're exquisitely designed for such a time as this. And so finding a way to be more visible, being really easy to find by those who need you most, is helping make a positive difference in the world. It's making a positive impact. So I want to encourage you to be easy to find, be willing to share the amazing gift of who you are out into the world. My podcast show, I always close with bloom and shine. And what I mean by that is to be willing to bloom where you're at, not someday, not eventually, but right now, be willing to bloom, to share and shine at who you are, how you're made, what you bring to the world, and then shine, share it out into the world. That's how we make the world a better place. It's heart by heart, life by life. And you have made our world a better place joining us today, being part of our conversation, leaning in. And I can't wait to see you shining, all of you shining out there in media, touching lives. We look forward to talking to you and seeing you in our next summit. Thank you, everybody.